now move to Andorra. And the next presentation will be by Stop Violences Andorra, and Vanessa Mendoza Cortes will present for 7 minutes. You have the floor.
Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon. My country, Andorra, is a feudal state with the consent of all. It is difficult and shameful for me as an Andorran, a woman and a feminist, to have to fight for basic rights such as the right to abortion. The government needs to recognize that times have changed. It has signed international conventions and treaties voluntarily and must step up to its commitments. Our government is hypocritical in the purest manner. There is habitual violence in couples. From outside, things look wonderful, but when doors closed, when people get home, state violence allows this to happen in a cruel way. The laws are full of misogyny and religious fundamentalism. This must stop. Women must be full citizens and not second-class citizens. State powers have not yet been separated from the church. The politics of fear and confusion is rooted in my country. Our government has signed the Istanbul Convention, but the laws adopted in Parliament need to be approved by the co-princes, in other words, the President of France and/or the Bishop of Urgell, which belongs to Catalonia. They have the last word. This is the case for a document known as Els Pareaches, dating from the 13th century. This is why this is done this way. We note that if we continue wishing to achieve legal abortion, the bishop will leave, and this will lead to an institutional crisis. We are told this, and in fact there is a critical lack of rights. Women and our rights are not a priority for the government. There are no specialized services on gender-based violence. There is no specialized police trained to recognize and take complaints arising from this violence, or access to reproductive and sexual health services in the country. There is no specially trained team in the single country in the hospital for women who have been raped. In this context of a lack of services and protection, I will focus on sexual and reproductive rights of women in our principality. If I had to list these, my speech would end here. So I will focus on the consequences of the non-existence of these rights and how the government tries to mercantilize our bodies and our reproductive capacity. Specifically, I refer to the Law 12/2019 on techniques for assisted human reproduction and the criminalization and prohibition of abortion, as well as the problem of forced adoptions. Regarding Law 12/2019, adopted this year, far from giving women in our country reproductive rights, we see a privatization of assisted reproduction. This has not entered the state health system. The purchase of children in Kiev has been legalized. By this I mean assisted pregnancy and surrogate pregnancy. Lesbian couples need to pay for assisted reproduction out of the country because they are discriminated. The same is true of gay couples. The word father is always used. It is not recognized that there could be two mothers. The problem of lesbian couples being mothers and registering their children legally in Andorra has not been recognized. As to the repercussions of the criminalization and prohibition of abortion, I should mention that in Andorra, when a girl of 12 years is raped, she is obliged to give birth. When a woman does not wish to be a mother and cannot pay for an abortion, she is forced to give birth. Paradoxically, when a young woman lives in precarious conditions and is impoverished through the actions of the state, and she wishes to be a mother, she is obliged to give birth and give up her baby because she is poor and has nothing to give her baby. This brings me to the next point. Our civil, social and professional response to all of this has been to set up the La Mairie Centre, which is a safe centre for women who wish to undergo abortion and cannot pay for a private clinic. It is a service for poor women, for those who have suffered. Our government, which is always creative when it comes to oppressing women, has taken up our idea and is creating a service for foreign support to women who wish to undergo abortion. Let us not be taken in by this. It is a patriarchal trap. There will be a team made up of one lawyer, one doctor, a social worker and a psychologist, all of them men. The reality is that we're already having abortions abroad, and we want to do it at home. The government has admitted in meetings that it is a hypocritical solution. The government will not recognize that women who wish to undergo abortion are having their rights denied. It has publicly and privately admitted that it will convince women to give birth and give the children up. I quote the words by the head of government, Mr. Xavier Espot and Isamora, on 5th of April this year in a local newspaper. This is also a service for adoption, where women have a child or are expecting a child and do not wish to keep it, but also do not wish to have an abortion. I have never known a woman in my life who, in the case of pregnancy, did not know what to do. Women give birth or they abort. They do not sit in a corner not knowing what to do. This government service is one of oppression and institutional violence. Coming to my conclusions, we call on the government of Andorra to stop infantilizing women and stop hiding behind the bishop, continuing with the institutional violence towards women. We call on the government to give us the rights that we lack, to which it has committed internationally, including decriminalization of abortion, which requires a modification of Article 108 of the Criminal Code and not an amendment of the Constitution. Abortion, contrary to what our government says, is a question of public health. Without women, human rights are not truly human. Thank you.
Thank you very much.